ever since you were very, very young, I'm talking like 4 or 5 years old, you've been taught about this amazing thing called science. And this has continued from when you were 4 or 5 all the way every single day when you're going to school, all the way until you're 18 years old. And then when you graduate high school, some of you even go even further into post-secondary school to study science. And what this has done, this has formed a very deep groove into the entire structure of your mind and how you see and understand life. And you might say, well, Adam, what's the problem with that? Science is true, after all, and science is how we discover the truth about how reality works. So that's a good thing. See, that's just begging the question, though, because what I'm saying here is that when you're very, very young, you are not able to logically, analytically, rationally evaluate new ideas that are just fed into your mind. Like, for example, when you're a kid, you're taught that atoms exist. And they're these tiny little particles. They look like little balls, and there's other little balls spinning around them, and that's what the world is made of. It's made of these tiny little atoms. There's billions, trillions of them, and they're too small, you can't see them, but trust me, they're there. Ideas like that. And most people, I'd say 95% of people, that's what they believe. But that's actually not true. There's no such thing as these tiny little balls. That's not how an atom looks. Quantum physics, and when you get more advanced, if you take like advanced physics in university, they basically tell you, yeah, guys, like that's kind of not really how it works at all. We just kind of lied to you. It's not that they lied to you, but we just kind of had to give you like a kind of a working model, but that's not actually like the actual case of how reality works. It's way more complicated and nuanced than that. There's probability waves, there's entanglement, there's the superposition, and all these quantum technicalities that make it this like billiard ball model of atomic theory seem like child's play, because it literally is. Now, that is one example. That's one example. There are numerous examples where what you have been taught in school is 100, if not more than 100 years out of date with cutting-edge discoveries in science, and not just science, but there's actually something called post-rationality, where we've discovered in developmental psychology, which is an amazing field, we're able to actually see that on a very, very predictable, repeatable basis, you can actually observe human beings psychologically developing through 3 main stages of psychological development, which is how they make sense of reality. There's 3 main stages of how humans make sense of reality, and these stages, you grow through them. It's like a tadpole that turns into a froglet, that turns into an adult frog. You can't skip stages. This is just how it works. It's called a natural hierarchy. So the 3 stages are pre-rational, rational, and post-rational. These are the 3 stages of meaning making. Now, I want to say maybe 60% of the human population on Earth is actually in a pre-rational stage of development. So you can think of developing countries like in the Middle East, like in Africa, in certain parts of Asia, even in certain parts of South America. They have a pre-rational way of understanding reality. What this means is that they're usually very religious, and they kind of just believe in what the culture tells them in a very conformist way. They just conform to whatever's taught to them. They don't really think about it objectively. They're not rational thinkers. They're not skeptical. They haven't gotten to rationality yet. Their consciousness is literally unable to evaluate life objectively from a third-person perspective. They just are stuck in whatever mom and dad told me, whatever the priest told me, whatever the Bible told me. That's true. That's 100% true, and there's not even a doubt. And if you doubt it or question it, you're basically evil, you're the devil, and you can go fuck yourself, essentially. That's the pre-rational stage of development. A big chunk of the Earth's population is in this stage, and this is a very problematic stage of development because it leads to all sorts of superstition. Like in the Dark Ages, for example, in the 1300s, like there were the witch trials. This comes from a pre-rational stage of development where humans were like grabbing women who had extra, who were like doing anything. Like a woman would like ride a bike. No, sorry, bikes didn't exist. But whenever a woman would do anything extraordinary, they would basically call her a witch and tie her up and throw her off a ship into the ocean, or they'd burn her at the stake. So pre-rational thinking causes lots and lots and lots of issues, and it just causes you just to believe in nonsense, essentially. You just believe in stuff that can't be verified or proved in any objective way, so you're just believing in nonsense. So that's when you move from the pre-rational to the rational stage of development. So when a child is between the ages 1 and 8, they're in this pre-rational stage. The second they start to turn 9, 10, 11, 12, this is when rationality usually starts to take root. So I remember when I was 10 years old, the teacher in school asked us to write a name tag and to put one characteristic that describes you just in one word. For me, it was logic. And this was my 10-year-old self. So I was a very logical thinker. I loved breaking things down analytically. I was very good at solving puzzles. And I loved science. I loved studying biology and physics and chemistry and math. This kind of stuff just fascinated me. So that was me moving into the rational stage of development. And this is the center of gravity for our Western society, or even in Europe. For most developed countries, the center of gravity is in rationality. And this is great. This is a big step up from pre-rationality. We're not believing in crazy fairy tales like Amazonian tribes who believe there's like deities and gods that are giving them food, and like the volcano spirits are angry and we need to do human sacrifices in order to appease them. So that's pre-rationality. Rationality is much more effective and more humane, actually, in many cases, more logical and more truthful in many cases as well. So this is good, and this is what you were taught. This is what you've learned, and this is probably, just statistically, the structure of your entire consciousness is structured in a rational way. And that's fine, that's cool. However, there are limitations to this, and as you continue growing and developing and expanding your mind and exploring life, we have found scientifically that human beings always move from rationality into post-rationality if their development continues. Now, that's not a given. Many people won't even make it to rationality in this lifetime, let alone post-rationality in this lifetime, because when you get older, you can kind of get stuck in your ways, you stop growing, and since the center of gravity of culture is at the rational level, in order to get to the post-rational level of thinking where you're actually able to view and understand reality with much more nuance and complexity and depth, in order to get to that level, you need to kind of escape the center of gravity of your culture, and it actually takes a lot of proactive effort. This won't happen automatically. You're not going to accidentally stumble your way into post-rational thinking. This requires some work, because think about it, it's like this center of gravity of the culture. So in the West, our culture is literally pulling people up from pre-rational into rational. So that's good, because that's what's taught in school, that's what you see on TV, the news, etc. So that's the center of gravity. It's pulling people that are lower up to it, but it's also pulling people who are attempting to go further and expand and grow. It's pulling them down. So it requires a little bit of effort to kind of escape the center of gravity of your culture. And that's really what I want to help to do today here in this video. This is very useful and practical, because when you can start to expand your mind to think in new ways with new perspectives, it's like you're upgrading the operating system of your mind and allowing it to function a lot more smoothly, a lot more cleaner, with less hiccups. So a big practical issue that you probably face in your everyday life is that you struggle a lot with controlling your attention. And you don't even think of it like that. You probably phrase it as like, oh, I have time management issues, or I have bad habits, I have all these addictions, or I have emotional issues like anxiety or anger management, or I have ADHD, or maybe I'm working a job that I don't like, or I'm struggling to get the kind of relationship that I want to have, or my health situation in order. So these are practical everyday problems that you're struggling with. These problems cannot be solved from the same level of consciousness that created them. That was a famous quote by Einstein, who was actually a post-rational thinker. Many people think Einstein's a rational thinker. Yes, he of course is, but post-rationality transcends and includes rationality. So it goes beyond it, but it keeps it. It doesn't throw it out, it keeps it. But it goes beyond its limitations. Now you might now start scratching your chin and wondering, what could the limitations of rationality be? Because I thought that being logical and finding evidence, objective evidence for your claims, I thought that's how you find the truth. And it's not so simple. It's a little bit complicated. This is when we get into relativity, which is the nature of reality, according to physics. The nature of reality is that the more you think you know about one particular thing, the more definite, the more objective you get about your knowledge about, let's say, a particular particle, a piece of reality, the more accurate your measurement of it is, the less you actually know about it. This is really weird and spooky, and this is something that probably wasn't really taught to you in school, or maybe it was just glossed over. It's like, oh yeah, relativity, this, that, okay, go to lunch now, so I'll see you later. Do the test, and I'll see you later. Don't worry, don't think about it too much, you'll hurt your head. But post-rational thinking is really about embodying and really contemplating and chewing on the practical ramifications of not being so attached to needing everything to make scientific, logical sense in your life. Not everything needs to be verified or proved by modern day science. Now, I know the second I say this, the antivirus software in the operating system of your mind is like, no, don't do that, because if you let go of science, then you're going to go back into pre-rationality, and you're going to start worshiping the volcano god and believing the earth is flat and sacrificing humans and, burning witches at the stake. So don't get rid of science, because, we need things to make scientific sense. Otherwise, very bad things are going to happen to us. No, I get that. I understand. Science is good. However, it's limited. There's an actual definite limit to what modern science, in its current formulation, is able to understand about the nature of existence and your actual life. This is actually why you struggle with the things you struggle with, because problems that you have in your life can't be solved from the same level of consciousness that created them. These problems that you're having, like your attention is being sucked into YouTube Shorts or TikTok for hours and hours and hours, and you're procrastinating on the things you need to do in your life, but it's like this constant yo-yo of like, okay, I quit my bad habits for a couple days, but then I just fall way back into it, like even harder. And then maybe I'll quit again, but you have this like inconsistency, this yo-yo effect. And this is causing you all kinds of emotional turmoil and suffering and guilt and, being angry at yourself and all this stuff. Those practical issues are actually created by the rational stage of development which your mind is in. Now, it's actually not enough for me to just talk your way out of rational thinking. I can't do it. And the reason why is because this paradigm has been so deeply embedded into the operating system of your mind because of how long you've been indoctrinated with this view of reality from when you were in grade 1 all the way till you're in grade 12. The formative periods of your life, when your mind is taking shape, you're just being taught science. And again, there's nothing wrong with science. That's like a building block. It's a necessary building block in order to get to post-rationality. You have to go through rationality to get to post-rationality, because post-rationality includes rationality within it, but then also expands and goes higher and is able to consider new perspectives and actually get lasting results in its life, to actually embody higher stages of human development, to actually become the best version of yourself, and to actually feel connected with life on an emotional level. You could say on a spiritual level. Now, I know you're a rational person, so you think that spirituality doesn't exist. But when you really question the validity of what you've been taught in school, just about this kind of blind scientific view of like everything needs to make logical sense and everything needs to be studied with a microscope. If I can't study it with a microscope, it doesn't exist. Like spirituality or like mystical experiences. You think these things don't exist because you can't study it with a microscope. But the actual evidence, very slowly, very gradually, has been trickling down into modern culture. This is why you may see videos on YouTube about DMT or mystical experiences or magic mushrooms or certain philosophies of life like spirituality, like the law of attraction. This stuff is, you as a scientifically minded person, you like to put this stuff below you. You like to think, oh, DMT, that's just for drug addicts. Or law of attraction, that's just for like people who aren't smart enough to think logically like I do. So when you're at the rational stage and you see a post-rational person, you actually confuse them for a pre-rational person. This is kind of like the root of all of your problems. This is actually a well-documented phenomena by the American philosopher Ken Wilber, who's the most underrated philosopher of the 21st century. Ken Wilber documented the pre-trans fallacy, where it's actually a logical fallacy that you're making, where you're confusing pre-rational with trans-rational, or post-rational as I'm calling it. So when you see someone, like I've made a lot of videos on YouTube about like meditation, for example. Even meditation has gotten a lot of scientific backing nowadays, so maybe that's not a great example. But let's say recently I've made videos about like the existence of demons and ghosts. Well, actually, I haven't made that video yet, but I've been planning on it. If I made a video about the existence of demons and ghosts, and these things actually exist, they're invisible entities that are actually out here in the world, and they're actually affecting you. They're hijacking onto you and causing you to like behave in inauthentic ways. There's these like subtle energies that hijack people and cause them to do all sorts of nasty things. If I told you that, you wouldn't believe me. In fact, you would think I'm crazy. Because that doesn't fit into your worldview. That sounds very pre-rational. It sounds superstitious. Almost like I'm like a little kid who's like 5 years old who's scared of the monster under his bed. Adam, what do you mean demons exist? There's no scientific evidence for the existence of demons. That sounds childish, actually. And I get it. I get that it sounds like that. I understand. But open your mind to the possibility. This is crazy, and this is the crux of the whole video. If you're not able to open your mind to this possibility, you just wasted your time. This is the crux of the whole video. This is what's so important. You need to open your mind to the possibility that there are things going on here in life that cannot be explained purely scientifically in the way that science is currently structured. I'm not saying that science can't evolve to include new methods of understanding the nature of existence, such as psychedelics or meditation or shamanism, for example, which you don't understand that it's not only shamanism, for example, is not only superstitious people, doing rain dances and, trying to make it rain by dancing around a fire. There's deeper things going on here in existence that's more than meets the eye. And I'll actually give you an objective scientific experiment for you to prove this. But you have to be open-minded to it. If you were to actually take 3 grams of dried magic mushrooms, psilocybin, I made a video about how to use magic mushrooms for beginners, and you actually use that protocol, which is safe. You don't do it like as a party drug. You don't do it recreationally, where you like go to a music festival and dance. But if you actually did it personally, where you actually sat down and used it as a tool to help you explore the nature of yourself, the nature of your own consciousness, to actually do science on yourself, you would see very, very quickly that life is more than meets the eye. Now you might say, well, Adam, that's just a hallucination I'm having in my mind. That's not like that doesn't count as valid science, a fucking magic mushroom trip. Are you joking me? That's just like a hallucination that's happening in my brain. What you're not understanding is that what if your normal everyday waking life is also a hallucination? the actual experience that you have every single day, it's like a dream. It's like a hallucination. You think it's real, but there's nothing logical or rational about believing that the world is actually physical and is not a dream. There's actually no way to scientifically validate that all of existence isn't a hallucination of your consciousness. You might say, Adam, that sounds absurd. You're going a little bit too far. I don't know. You're full of shit. Who the hell are you? You don't have a PhD. See, all of these like defense mechanisms. Like, you're not allowed to say that. What if existence itself is actually made on the deepest possible level? What if it's made of your own consciousness? You don't think I'm credible? Okay, that's fine. There's certain people that you may find credible, such as Niels Bohr, one of the fathers of quantum physics. Max Planck, for example, who said consciousness is fundamental. We can't get behind it. Everything we postulate in science first must postulate the existence of consciousness. So there's many quotes from the fathers of quantum physics, like Erwin Schrödinger, talking about Advaita Vedanta and the Upanishads. I'm sorry, I don't have the quotes preloaded in my mind right now, but maybe I'll put one of them on the screen. You can read it yourself. I'll just cycle some quotes of the founders of quantum physics saying that consciousness is the fundamental nature of existence. Existence, life, is literally your dream. Life is the dream of the Creator, and that's you. Adam, that sounds a little bit spiritual and kooky and new agey. I don't know, Adam. I don't like that. I'm going to stick to my science because at least that doesn't, scare me. But you see how that's not actually very logical or practical? One sec, I have to take a pee break. Luckily, I'm out in nature here. I'm just going to pee right here. Now, something like that might hurt your feelings. Like, oh, Adam, you're going to pee in the middle of the video? Like, are you serious? Like, that, you're not logically credible now. But notice how when you're making these, when you're saying like, oh, Adam, reality is God's dream, and I'm God. I'm the creator of existence. There's only one consciousness in existence, and it's me. I'm the eternal dreamer, like they said in Advaita Vedanta for thousands of years. I don't like that, Adam. That doesn't make sense. Okay, so there's a difference between you not liking something emotionally because it hurts your feelings or it contradicts what you've been taught. There's a difference between that and being a logical thinker. So what you're admitting is that your worldview isn't actually based on logic. You don't actually care about aligning your worldview to the truth, because what I'm saying is the eternal truth. There is no way that you can scientifically disprove that reality is not your dream and that you are the eternal dreamer. It's fundamentally made of your consciousness on a fundamental level, which I've actually given many rigorous proofs about in my video, proof that reality is not physical. I've rigorously proved step by step that you actually cannot disprove the fact that reality is literally your dream. You don't like that though. You're just gonna turn the video off. Like, you know what? Fuck this. I don't like. I don't know. I'm gonna move on with my life. This I'm just gonna go back to my rationality. This was a waste of my time. I want you to just realize that. Realize that your worldview isn't actually as logical as you think it is. It's the fathers of quantum physics who lived 100 years ago, they agreed with me, with Adam. They didn't agree with you thinking that the world is physical and three-dimensional and material and actually like physically like manifest. They agreed with me that reality is more of like God's dream. It's made of consciousness. Consciousness is the fundamental substance of existence. So now the question is, okay, Adam, how do I actually apply this information? Like, how does this end up benefiting my life? Well, the main purpose of this video here is just to help you to open your mind to new perspectives and to help you not be so closed-minded and stubborn when you see certain, let's say, spiritual videos where people are speaking about spirituality. I'm not saying you have to completely believe them, but I'm also not saying that they're 100% false. You need to start seeing every perspective as having partial truth, and you need to stop dismissing people immediately just because what they're saying doesn't make scientific sense. Because science is limited and it is going through reforms right now as we speak. There's many people who are doing a lot of great work to help to actually reform the current scientific paradigm, because we have big problems, such as believing that the universe is material and physical, yet not actually having any conclusive evidence to support that, not even in principle. It's actually impossible in principle to prove that the universe doesn't exist in your consciousness. You actually have to think about this. You can't prove that. You can't take a piece of evidence and show it to me and say that, hey, Adam, here's a piece of evidence that shows that reality is physical and isn't happening in my consciousness. You have to really think. I want you to figure out why that doesn't work. I'm not going to give you the answer. I want you to figure that out for yourself. Why is it that you can't have a piece of evidence that shows that reality isn't occurring in your consciousness? You can't. Hey, I found some evidence. See? Look, this evidence shows conclusively that reality's not made of my consciousness. But you see, the evidence itself has to exist in your consciousness. You can't get behind it. Consciousness is fundamental. This was not taught to you in school. This is a big shift. This is not like a technical detail. This is like a paradigm shift. This is like a life transforming realization that practically shifts the actual practical issues that you may be having in your money situation, or in your relationships, or in your health, or in your habits, in your life in general. Realizing you are the creator of this dream. Reality isn't physical. It's not as stuck and set in stone as you think it is. It's more malleable. It's made of consciousness. See, consciousness is changeable. That's the beauty of realizing the actual truth of existence, is that you realize that I can actually take responsibility for creating the life that I want to for myself. But you may need to use methods that you may not be comfortable with yet, because problems can't be solved from the same level of consciousness that created them. You may have to use meditation or psychedelics. You may have to get into spirituality. You may have to study different religions. You may have to try shamanism. You may have to try witchcraft. You may have to study astrology in order to understand what's really going on here in existence. If you want to have a truthful, accurate view of existence, if you want to actually know what life is and how it works, you're not going to get there just with science, not even close. Not even close. You need to open your mind to study hundreds of diverse perspectives. You need to actually check your corners. Go check witchcraft. Because you assume witchcraft is not real. You assume that it's not true. But you didn't check. You didn't actually go do some witchcraft for a couple months, actually test it. So, maybe witchcraft works. I don't know, what if I test it out? You might say, Adam, that's hocus pocus, that's preposterous. How could you possibly suggest that witchcraft is real? I'm not saying it's real. I'm not even saying it isn't real. I'm just using this example because I know it kind of triggers you. If you're a rational thinker, you hate to hear the possibility that witchcraft exists. But I'm just pointing out your double standards and your bias. You say that you only make sense of reality based on objective evidence and experimentation and testing, but you don't actually have the balls to actually test these things for yourself and actually take it seriously, not just to do one witchcraft spell and to think, oh, I did one spell, it didn't work, okay, the whole thing is garbage. Or you can't just say, oh, well, other people tested it for me. I don't need to do the test. There's other people who tested it. What if the scientists said that? What if they said, well, other people tested, I don't actually have to do my experiments. I don't actually have to verify my results. Other people will do that for me. Do you see how this is what religious people do? I don't have to think about life for myself. I don't have to make sense of the world for myself. I'll just let the priest do that for me. I'll let the Bible do that for me. So if you want to actually be an independent thinker and you want to actually move into higher levels of psychological development so you can continue developing yourself effectively and stop getting stuck in these yo-yo up and down, up and down, up and down, you need to consider the possibility that reality isn't as solid and material and physical as you think it is, and it's not as scientific as you think it is, but the only reason you think it is and you're attached to this is because this is a habitual habit that has actually been installed into your mind over many, many, many years. Over 12 years and even longer, this has been installed into your mind, and I'm telling you that this isn't true. What you believe reality isn't true. The fact that the world is physical and real and there's a physical, tangible existence made of atoms that may be real in one context, but what about if you're actually in a dream right now? What if it's all made of your own consciousness? See how that recontextualizes the whole thing? That changes everything. So it's not enough to just watch one video in order to change your whole mental operating system, because all of these beliefs they come pre-installed in the operating system. And I'm going to use the Windows 11 example. I don't know if you use Windows 11, but there's just all this just bullshit programs on it. There's Candy Crush and Xbox Game Pass and OneDrive and all this stuff that's just pre-installed on your operating system. You don't even want it there. It just slows down your computer. You didn't even choose to put it there. Microsoft chose for you. So in the same way, in your mind, there's all these beliefs and ideas about life and how it works that were pre-installed, and a lot of them are shit. A lot of them aren't even accurate. A lot of them don't work. as you're seeing in your everyday life, you're seeing that whatever I think isn't working, because you can just check your results. How are your results? Do you feel happy and in alignment with your soul every single day? Of course not. You don't even believe the soul exists. Do you actually feel like you're doing what you're passionate about for a living, and you're actually enjoying your life to the fullest, and you have an abundance of positive emotions on a daily basis? You might say, no, well, Adam, the actual reason why I don't have those things is because I haven't done enough work on myself. I have the wrong job. It's my boss's fault. Well, it's my living situation. It's, maybe I don't have it now, but I'll work really hard and then I'll get it later. So, no, you're not understanding. You're not going to get it later if you don't change your mind first. Talking to you. A lot of the work here we do on this channel is very much so psychological work. A lot of it is like psychic surgery. A lot of these videos I make, I have to be very considerate about all of the ways that your mind is deluded and full of false beliefs. Like, I know all of the beliefs that are in your mind. And I know that sounds crazy. You're like, Adam, you don't know what's in my mind. Trust me, I know the way you think better than you do. It's like I'm almost like a professional Windows hacker. And it's my job to go into the operating system and delete all of these pre-installed programs. I'm like a professional hacker, basically, because I've hacked my own mind for the last 8 years and gone really deeply into it and actually seen that most of the programs that came pre-installed are bullshit. And it's actually a lot better. You can actually use your computer, you can use your mind, you can use your life, you can enjoy existence a lot better if you uninstall a lot of these pre-installed programs. But the problem is there's an antivirus, basically. It's like a firewall that's preventing you from even doing that because you're afraid. And you don't want to do that. You have all these excuses and all of these just classic objections. Like, oh, but Adam, you're critiquing science. That means that you're a religious fundamentalist. That's why I had to go into so much detail in the start of this video. All right, guys. I'm going to sit down. This video is a little bit off the cuff. I wanted to make something from my heart, and I was having trouble getting good lighting, so I just decided to walk around. There is a lot of amazing things that are coming to you in your life, and it's just important that you're not attached to old ways of thinking. This is going to make a big difference for you in the coming years. It's very, very important that you are not clinging to specifically the scientific paradigm, because I'm telling you right now, you heard it here first, folks, the scientific paradigm is wildly out of date, and there will be massive paradigm shifts occurring in your lifetime that you will be almost angry at school for teaching you all of this shit that was not even close to the actual nature of existence. You'll look at what you learned in school like something that was taught in the Stone Ages or something. It's just completely out of date. It's almost useless. It's just it doesn't make sense anymore, because we're making new discoveries about who you are. you need to understand who you are is amazing and beautiful. It's not just a stupid monkey that's living on a rock that evolved from apes, that's doing its best to get by. Who we are as a species is more than just a cancer on the earth. We're human beings. We have divine potential. We're connected with Creator, which is not the bearded man sitting in the clouds, but it's something a lot deeper, something fundamental to the nature of what it means for existence to exist at all, something metaphysical, something spiritual. But it requires moving into post-rational thinking in order to grasp this. You want to grasp this for yourself. You want to have a direct experience, a direct understanding of who you really are. You want to see in first person that I am actually God. God not being the man in the clouds, but being the divine force that moves existence into existence. The Creator with a capital C, or the universe with a capital U, whatever you want to call it. There's this divine source is your source. It's full of love and beauty and goodness and truth and reality. You can experience this for yourself. You may have to do some psychedelics in a responsible way, not like an idiot, not recreationally with your friends while you play Mario Kart and eat pizza, but seriously, by yourself, introspectively, not distracting yourself, looking within. Meditation, reading, expanding your mind, looking at new perspectives, listening to people who are more experienced than you, but not only one person, hundreds of different people to kind of triangulate the truth. You're lucky. You're born into the internet age. There's spiritual teachers who are awakened, who are enlightened, who know the nature of existence way beyond just science. Not just rationality, but post-rationality and beyond. There's amazing philosophers and teachers they've written books. They exist. I have a whole book list on my website, which should be out in the next few days. You can check it out. Amazing resources to get you started with your self-actualization journey. That's really what we talk about here on this channel, is helping you to evolve yourself into the best version of yourself by mainly what I like to do, specifically my specific flavor and style, is I really like going into deep belief systems that you have in your mind and questioning those and bringing to light a lot of the logical fallacies that you hold in your own mind. Like, you believe reality's physical and it's made of these little tiny atoms that are like billiard balls, like little balls, but that doesn't actually exist. That doesn't actually exist. That's not a real thing, but like, you think it's real. Your mom and dad actually think these like little tiny atom things actually exist. It's a lot more technical and complicated and spooky than you think it is. And like I mentioned, at the core level, even if atoms did exist, let's say they do, which I'm not saying atoms don't exist. I'm saying that the model that you were taught is not accurate. There's a more updated model that's like weird, and it's like completely different. It's not what you think it is. Even if that model was right, though, that whole thing would still be occurring in your consciousness, and consciousness cannot arise out of just atoms. Because your consciousness is not coming out of a body. your body is coming out of your consciousness. See the difference there? Your mind is not coming out of your body. See, that's not actually accurate. If you actually look, pay attention, and see, do some science. Actually look. Notice, your body is in your consciousness, not the other way around. Not the other way around. Adam, what do you mean? Aren't I like in my brain? Doesn't my brain create reality? One of the many examples of science being wrong. There is no scientific evidence that shows consciousness arises in the brain. That has never been proven, yet it's being taught to millions of people as a blind assumption, just as blind as saying that God is sitting in the clouds up there. It's just as blind. There's no evidence. You have no evidence that a consciousness is created by the brain. Sure, the brain is related to consciousness. Okay, yeah, if I take a hammer and smash you in the brain, yeah, that's going to affect your consciousness, definitely. But in the same way, if I take a hammer and smash you in the heart, that's also going to affect your consciousness. Or if I smash you in the genitals, that's also going to affect your consciousness. So yeah, the brain is definitely related to consciousness, but newer science is actually, the way I'm thinking of it is that the brain is more of a receiver of consciousness, kind of like a radio. It's not actually creating the signal, it's more so localizing the signal and making it readable. It's a little bit spooky and interesting, but this is called trans-rationality. There's trans-rational ways of thinking that are way more profound. They're more elegant, they're more simple, they're more truthful. They explain more phenomena. You can use trans-rational logic. It has more explanatory power. You can explain ghosts and demons and paranormal phenomena and psychic powers and miracles that we have millions of anecdotal accounts demonstrating the existence of mystical phenomena. But science, the scientific model in its current formulation, since it's attached to materialism and it thinks that the consciousness comes out of the brain and not other way around, the brain is just an idea that's being thought of in the one universal consciousness. Since science is attached to that one view, science can't even explain mystical phenomena, which is it's a pretty popular phenomena. There's a lot of people having mystical experiences every single day and transcending their body mind, doing things like lucid dreaming or like astral projection. I almost slipped and died. I almost fucking astral projected into those to those branches over there. There's no evidence. Sorry. Science will just hand wave these phenomena away. They'll just say astral projection, that doesn't exist. That guy just made it up. Ghosts, that doesn't exist. They just made it up. UFOs and channeling, oh, that's another one. Channeling, that doesn't exist. You can't connect to a spiritual being from a different dimension and channel information from them through your body, either writing or speaking or dancing or whatever it is. That's not possible. Possession, demonic possession, witchcraft, that can't exist, because what I'm saying is that when you have the materialistic paradigm, you lose explanatory power. You're literally unable to explain phenomena that actually happen in life. And this is the crux of the whole issue, is that your model, your view, of science claims to be able to explain life and how it works, but practically, in that's just kind of like lip service, but practically it can't. There's so many phenomena that science will just like hand wave away. Oh, that's not real. Oh, lucid dreaming, that doesn't exist. Ghosts? Nope. No such thing. Yeah, but what about the like millions of accounts and, you know, like throughout all of like history, not even just recently, like there's been like thousands of years of accounts of mystical phenomena occurring. Science will just be like, well, everyone, they're all full of shit. Every single person. The millions of people throughout all of history, thousands of years, they're all full of shit with their mystical phenomena, because we know we've never proved it in a laboratory. Yeah, but you didn't ask yourself the methodological question, the meta question of how do you know the methods you're using in the laboratory actually pick up on the phenomena that in question. You say, oh, because those are the scientific methods, those are the best, that's how we get to truth. But see, that's begging the question. How do you know those methods get to truth? What if there's other methods that can get other types of truths that you're not aware of? What if you can't find a ghost under a microscope, but there's a different way? But you can still verify it. You can still get 100 people to do it, and it can still happen. You can still. The point of science is just to understand, how does life work? What is it? That's the spirit of science. What's actually going on? What is this thing? You could grab a branch off the floor and you actually zoom into it, like, what is this? I want to know what it is. And I'm not attached to my method. I could use any method. There's many different methods for my consciousness to grasp what a thing is. It doesn't only have to be cutting it open and looking at the cells. There's many ways to grasp what a branch is. In different contexts, you can look at the cellular level, but then you could also look at the macro level, like the ecosystem level, like how do branches help birds build their nests? How does it, you know, you can't study how branches affect the ecosystem just under a microscope. There's just what I'm trying to basically transmit here is a demonstration of holistic thinking, also known as post-rational or trans-rational thinking, which is very nuanced. It's very complex. There's a lot of different perspectives and angles that are being considered and integrated. So if you want to expand your consciousness and you want to just live a fully self-actualized life, to just, I don't know, if you just like understanding how the actual nature of existence works, and you're sick of being full of shit. Sorry, I can't say it like that. You're sick of just not understanding how reality works, you want to know, then I'm just trying to help, basically. Hopefully some of these ideas are good food for thought. I'm getting a bit tired and cold now. Thanks for sticking with me all the way through this long, rambly video. I just kind of threw this one together at a whim. I really wanted to record something like this from my heart, but I could not, for the life of me, find a good setup to put my camera on because of the position of the sun. It was just like, now it's good because it's like golden hour. But yeah, I just can't really find a good position. So yeah, guys, check out my website. I got more free resources for you. I got a book list on there that'll be out very soon, in the next few days, hopefully. So check it out, and hope you like this video. I gotta go now, so peace.